Welcome back to On the Rise as Isaac Boehmer, the 22-year-old Canadian goalkeeper for Vancouver Whitecaps, seriously deserves a Canadian call-up from Jesse Marsch this October window. And I truly believe he has earned it, off of the back of a very impressive final performance against Toronto FC in the Canadian Championship, where Vancouver Whitecaps went on to do the three-peat in the Canadian Championship, all down to Isaac Boehmer, who is tremendous in the penalty shootout win over Toronto FC, but also came up huge throughout the match, throughout the entire 90 minutes, making a huge penalty save against Federico Bernardeschi to keep Vancouver Whitecaps in this match, but also coming up big throughout the entire match as well. And it was a big performance from the 22-year-old goalkeeper from Penticton, British Columbia, as Isaac Boehmer now seriously is in the conversation to be called up to the Canadian men's national team. And this is a now real conversation, and which was all brought up from the Whitecaps manager himself in Vanni Sartini, who truly brought up the conversation, saying Jesse Marsch needs to be having a look at Isaac Boehmer, as he should be starting for multiple different MLS teams. And I think it's a legitimate shout and truly a valid question to be asking. Should Isaac Boehmer be called up to the Canadian men's national team? Because personally right now, this October window, I really believe Isaac Boehmer deserves it. And Jesse Marsch has already gone out there and has already said he's going to rotate the squad to play Panama. There's going to be new players involved and new players getting their first Canadian call-up, which is extremely exciting. But when you look at the Canadian goalkeeping pool and the depth chart, number one spot and the number two spot, there is no debate and there's no conversation. Maxime Crépeau has the one spot completely locked down, and Dane St. Clair is number two locked down. And when you look at three onwards, it is anybody's game. It is anyone's position to take that number three Canadian goalkeeping depth chart role, because there are so many options and so many young, talented Canadian goalkeepers. But right now, nobody has taken that by the grasp, and nobody has truly proven it's theirs. We've had Tom McGill, we've had Jonathan Sirois, we've had multiple goalkeepers be there, we've had Gregor Swiderski. There's been multiple goalkeepers at that number three position. Nobody's gotten the chance. Nobody has proved it throughout league form this year, especially Jonathan Sirois, which a lot of Canadians thought was going to be the man, has improved it. And I get that you can truly throw out that argument that he's only had a handful of senior appearances for Vancouver Whitecaps at the senior level for Isaac Boehmer, and that is completely valid. But from that final performance against Toronto FC, he truly showed pressure doesn't scare him. He is a man for the big moments. He's still only 22 years old, and it's another just a very exciting Canadian talent. I'm not saying he should be starting. I'm not saying he should be the number two. I'm just saying Isaac Boehmer has a serious consideration to be fighting for that number three role. And being 22 years old, we know Canadian goalkeepers and goalkeepers in general in football progress with age. The older they are, the better they get, with more experience, with more playing time, just with more ability to truly show what they are. And Isaac Boehmer, already from a young age, is showing he's not scared of pressure, is showing he is confident, is showing he's a penalty saver as well. It's just, he is showing it at the top level in Canadian football, which is very exciting. And I think Vanni Sartini throwing his name into the Canadian conversation wasn't a problem. I think it was a legitimate conversation. And the fact he did throw his name out there is very exciting, because I think he could be starting for multiple different MLS sides. I think he should be starting out in Europe. Not saying it should be a big league, but I think Isaac Boehmer is a starting goalkeeper. He has proved it already. And when you look throughout the call-ups and who could be that number three goalkeeper for Canada right now, going through the list, you have Tom McGill, James Pantemis, Jonathan Sirois, Gregor Swiderski, Isaac Boehmer, and if you want to go to dual nationals, you have Owen Goodman as well. But right now, none of them are proving it through league form. Jonathan Sirois hasn't been top-notch. Tom McGill is starting to find some great form on loan with Milton Keynes Don, so he could be the number three. Gregor Swiderski has the ceiling and the potential, but Isaac Boehmer has proven it in a big-time game, in the spotlight, in Canadian soccer, and against some of the best players in the MLS, against Lorenzo Insigne, against Jonathan Osorio, against Federico Bernardeschi. And he has proven it. And it's very exciting to see. And I think it's a valid And that topic and that is brought up from Vanni Sartini isn't a statement that should be laughed about, which I think some people might laugh at this video and say he shouldn't be called up, he shouldn't be any question anywhere near the top 3. But I really think for this window, which Jesse Marsch has already said, he is shaking up the squad, he's shaking up the roster. I believe Isaac Boehmer should be involved. I'm not saying he's going to be getting minutes, but I think he should be involved in some shape or form. Because having a 22-year-old Canadian goalkeeper showing so much promise, showing so much talent, even just have him as one of your training players. Get him involved in the squad. Get him involved in the daily run of the mill. Get him seeing how training runs. It all is so important. It's going to help these young players get integrated into Jesse Marsch's philosophy, into his system. Jesse Marsch might only be here till 2026, but if he's here longer, Isaac Boehmer is a great shout for the future. And I think the earlier Jesse Marsch gets a look at every single possible player, it's only going to be better for his squad and the knowledge of the player pool. So I think Isaac Boehmer is a legitimate call-up and should be called up along with Crépeau, St. Clair, Tom McGill. You have your pick, but I really think Dayton St. Clair is going to get a starting role against Panama. We've heard there's going to be a change of squad, a change of roster. See what Dayton St. Clair gives you. Have 2 other younger goalies around the camp and just let this change of squad in the rotation play into the fact that this is going to be a fun team against Panama. Because I would love to see Isaac Boehmer in the mix because he completely deserves it after a huge performance against Toronto FC. But I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. It's a controversial question. It's a very big topic in Canadian soccer right now. It might not be massive, but I know with the Canadian Championship happening, with Vancouver Whitecaps completing the three-peat, with Boehmer getting MVP of the tournament and Young Player of the tournament, it's a legitimate conversation, and there's a lot of validity to it. So I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Apologies for that. But Toronto FC fans, put the bias, the toxicity to the side on this one after losing that final, the bittersweetness. And let me know what you guys have to say as well. Whitecaps, Toronto FC, Montreal fans, every Canadian supporter, let me know what you guys have to say. Should Boehmer be called up, just even to be the number 3 goalkeeper? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Hit that like button. Drop a sub, guys. The support means the absolute world to me, guys. We're back on the grind. I hope you guys are still tuned in. I really appreciate it. All of the best on the channel, and I'll see you guys for the next one. Peace.